Hi there, welcome to my channel Mandu to Fundu. In this video, I'm going to discuss about the solution for finding the index of the first occurrence of a string. Let's look at the problem description. We are given two strings called needle and haystack, and we have to return the index of the first occurrence of the string needle in the string haystack. If there is no such substring exists, we have to return -1. Let's take a look at the example 1. So in this case, the haystack string value is sad but sad. The needle's value is sad. So the first occurrence is starting from index 0. So we have to return 0 as the output. In the example 2, the first string is LeetCode. The second string is LeetCode. There is no such substring exist in haystack, so we have to return -1. So the length of the input strings are ranging from 1 to 10,000, and they contain only the lowercase English letters. Let's look at the approach to solve this problem. So for this input, the first string is hello, the second string is with value ll. So the output is 2 because the ll starts from index 2. Okay. So we can solve this problem by using a pattern matching with a single pass approach. So in this, we scan the input string once. As we scan, we look for a pattern. So in this case, the pattern will be the current character pointed by the end pointer matches the first character of the substring, and the character which is subcount -1 positions away from the end pointer matches the last character of the substring. If both the first and last character matches, then we try to check whether the substring starting from the substart and the subend indexes is equal to this substring value. In that case, we can return substart as the first occurrence of this substring. In each iteration, we check whether the current character matches the first character of the substring, and then the character at subcount offset from the current index matches the last character of the substring. In that case, we check whether that particular range is forming the string which is equal to the substring. In that case, we can return the current index. Let's look at the flowchart. Input for this procedure are the inp string and substring. First, we initialize the inp count, sub count, and then the count number of counts characters we have to scan in the input array, and the first occurrence variable and the end pointer. So the inp count and sub counts are respectively set with the length of the first and second string, and the end pointer is initialized with 0, and the count will be initialized with by subtracting sub count from the inp count, because after this count index, even if we scan, there won't be any match because the rest of the characters are all less than the sub count. So we can very well stop at the index count. And then here we are checking whether we processed count characters in the input string. If so, we return first occurrence current value. Otherwise, if there are still characters pending, then we initialize the substart variable with the current end pointer, and then we set the sub end pointer with the current end pointer value plus the sub count -1. Next, we check first and last characters of substring matches the characters at substart and subend in the first input string. If they matches, then we check whether the entire that range forms the substring, because in between there may be a different characters too. So for that, we check whether the substring starting from index substart and ends at subend forms the string that is equal to the substring. So if it is yes, then we return the first occurrence value. We assign the substart to the first occurrence variable and break out of the loop. Otherwise, we continue to process the rest of the characters until we process count number of characters. Finally, we return the first occurrence value. If there are no match, the first occurrence still have -1, so we return -1. If we found a match, here we set that first occurrence with the substart value, which will be returned back to the caller. Let's move on to coding. First, I initialize the int count and sub count variable with the length of first and second string. Then I initialize the first occurrence variable. Then I compute the actual number of characters that needs to be traversed by subtracting the sub count from the input count. Then I initialize the end pointer to 0. Next I write the for loop to traverse the first string count number of characters. Each iteration I compute the substring start and substring end. So the substring end will be sub count offset from the current pointer. Then I check the character pointed by the sub start in the first string with the first character of the second string and compare the character pointed by the sub end in the first string with the last character of the second string. If both are matching, then I slice the input string starting from the substart index till sub end index and compare that substring with the second string to see if they are matching fully. If so, we have the second string present in the substring starting from index substart. So we assign that value to the first occurrence variable and break out of the loop. Otherwise, we proceed to the next character and repeat the comparison process. Finally, I return the first occurrence variable. Next, I am going to run the test cases. All the tests passed. Next, I am going to submit this program. Cool, this program is accepted. Next, I am going to do the code walkthrough with sample input. We are given these two input string, and the first string is hello and second string is LLO. Second string is present in the first string starting from index 2. So that's why the expected output is 2. So first we initialize the int count and sub count to the length of the first and second string respectively. And then we initialize the first occurrence to -1 and we compute the number of characters that needs to be scanned in order to determine whether the substring is present or not. And then we initialize the end pointer to 0. Basically, we start from the beginning of the string. As we scan, we compare that character pointed by that end pointer with the first character of the substring. Okay. So in the iteration 0, pointer is pointing to the 0th character, and we compute the substart and sub end. substart is initialized with end, so that's why we see 0, and then we compute the sub end by adding the sub count, the second string's length, and then -1. So this will give the character which we can compare with the last character of the substring. Okay, so in each iteration we initialize the substart and subend, and then we compare the character pointed by the substart with the first character of the substring, and the character pointed by the subend with the last character of the substring. If both are matching, then we check the entire string is equal to the substring we are looking for. Otherwise we move on to the next character. So that's what we are doing here. So the substart pointing to H and subend pointing to L, but this condition is failing because these two characters are not matching. So we move to the next iteration by advancing the end pointer. So the end pointer become 1 and it is pointing to E, substart is pointing to the same location, and subend is 2 location from that. So in this case it is pointing to 3. It is pointing to the L, which is at the index 3. Okay, so now when we compare this condition again is failing because this character and the first character of the substring doesn't match. Then we move to the next iteration, and in this case so now the end pointer points to the letter L, and the subend points to the last character of the string. When we compare the character pointed by substart with the first character, it matches, and the character pointed by the subend with the last character, it matches. So in this case we check whether the substring formed by those two indexes, substart and subend, is equal to the second string. So in that case we assign the substart to the first occurrence variable. So in this case it is index 2, so we assigned index that value to the first occurrence variable and break out of the loop, and then we return the first occurrence index. That is the expected output. Next I am going to do the time and space complexity analysis for this solution. Okay, let's do the time complexity analysis for this input. So we have the input string hello and the substring LLO. So the expected output for this is 2. In order to compute the output, how many iterations this for loop performs. So as per the explanation in the code walkthrough section, this loop perform 3 iterations. We skip the last m number of iterations where m is the size of the second string. Okay, in this case the first string length is 5, the second string length is 3. Subtract 3 from 5 and plus 1, which gives us 3. So we subtract the second string length from the first string length and adding 1, so that we get the number of iterations that we need to perform to compute this. Okay, so if we generalize this, we can totally we have to perform n minus m plus 1 iterations. So by removing the constant out of this, we can say the time complexity of this algorithm is order of n minus m, where n is the length of the first string and m is the length of the second string. The space complexity is order of 1 because we did not allocate any additional space to process the input. So the space complexity is order of 1. Thanks for watching this video. Have a great day.